Welcome, Facebook, to another Tuesday afternoon edition of Facebook Live, brought to you from Dental Speaker Institute's Facebook group. I'm Vanessa Emerson, founder of Dental Speaker Institute and Dental Speakers Bureau, and I'm super excited to be here today with my friend and yours, Margy Schaller. Yay, Margy! Thanks for joining us today. I'm really been looking forward to our conversation. I know you and I have known each other for several years now. I know a lot of people in the industry are knowing you and knowing that you're a speaker development coach, that you have a lot of different talents. And before we dive into our content and the tips that we want to share today to help speakers, I would love it if you would just give us a brief introduction about you and your story and what brought you here while I double check to make sure we're really going live on Facebook. So I'm going to look away for a minute, but I'm listening.
Okay. Well, many of you may or may not know that back in the late 1990s, I actually got a job as an instructional designer. I specifically went to school to learn, and what that means is that the people who put together training classes, and I took a 2-year certification class. Got this amazing job. I got to work with people on putting these cool training programs together. And I thought the reason why it's important to tell this story right now is because September 11th was 2001, was the end of that piece of my career. Because at that time, if you remember, big businesses thought that the sky was falling, that literally, that their economy was going to tank, and it did for a bit. And so companies cut the thing that they think is the most disposable, which is training. Well, I had to reinvent myself again, and I ended up getting into the medical field and working with various different, a pharmaceutical company, and then a medical device company, and then finally a dental implant company. And all three of those companies, I got the privilege of working with the professional speakers, with the clinician speakers, and running the education department. And with my background in instructional design, I could see that while these were brilliant clinicians, they struggle. You know, they struggle with how to put together the type of presentation that really is in line with adult learning theory and is going to give the end user a really good walk away, like what to do. And so my last child graduated from high school, off to college, and I had the opportunity to do what my passion was, and that was be an entrepreneur. And so I started my own company, and I have been in business for 5 years now and worked with hundreds of the dental speakers out there, and I love it. Love it.
Mm-hmm. So how do you work with them? What type of work do you do with the dental speakers?
You know, the primary thing that I work with is people who are really trying to put together what I call a winning presentation. My book, Formulated Winning Presentation, is just for that. And I work with people who primarily have existing content. They've been speakers, but maybe they want to take it to the next level. Or maybe they want to take it and launch it into a new direction. And so I have a content coaching process that I take people through. And at the end of that, Vanessa, people are just so excited. And for me, the most gratifying part is that they feel like they are the best version of themselves. Now, once that's done, of course, the visuals come into play. And so in addition, then I also work with speakers and help them take good slides and make them great, or great slides and make them amazing. So it's kind of the whole package from soup to nuts of really trying to help people feel as though they can knock it out of the ballpark.
It really is a process too. I mean, so very few people are just naturally born as what we call maybe a gifted speaker, that sort of thing, but it's definitely something that people can learn. You know, I've heard you speak a couple of times, and one of your my favorite topics to hear you speak on are the speaking styles. And I saw that recently you wrote a post about this, and I posted on our Facebook group. So anybody who's watching who would like to go back and read that, just scroll down a couple days. And the way I recall, there are 4 different speaking styles, and I won't try to remember them. I'll ask you to share with us if you could share some tips from that with our listeners around the speaking styles and why that's important, and how would they know what their style is.
Yeah. Well, as part of developing my content coaching, I thought, I have to get clear on what I think makes one speaker really good and another speaker maybe land a little flat. And so I went back and kind of indexed and cataloged through the various different programs that I've seen, the different speakers that I've seen, and started trying to make notes. And what I came up with was, I think that the really best reactions people get from audiences are when the speaker is super clear on what their goal is, and the audience knows what the speaker's goal is, so that everybody's in alignment. So take, for example, if you're at a program and you have this sneaking suspicion somebody's going to try to sell you something, isn't your reaction to like kind of resist?
Yeah.
But what if you know they're going to try to sell you something? What if they've just been upfront about it from the get-go, that they believe that this thing that they have to sell you is going to be a game changer for them? Don't you have the willingness now to lean in and listen to what they say? So it's about knowing what our goal is and being transparent with our audience. So from there, I created the 4 speaker styles. And the first one I just described is what I call the recruiter. The recruiter is somebody who has a product or a service that they believe people will benefit from. Now, I don't believe anybody should ever sell from the podium. That's tacky. But be clear. If you're a consultant, be clear that you're a consultant. People know that you want business out of this. Don't try to hide it. If you're a vendor, be clear. The second speaker style that I've run across is what I call the inspirer. Everybody wants to identify as an inspirer, but here's the thing about an inspirer. I believe that they are the people at the top of their field, the 3%ers, the ones who can do things that nobody else can do. And they know people are not going to be able to do what they do by listening to a talk, but their goal, their outcome, their purpose is that people will stretch their own goalposts further. In other words, they'll move the industry forward just by inspiring. The third one is what I call the teacher or the trainer, and they're the exact opposite. They do want to teach people. They do want to train people to do something during the course of that talk or workshop. They are typically people who had really good mentors, and now they want to pay it forward. And the fourth is what I call the informer. Now, the informer is somebody who has, well, information, right? New laws, regulatory, I think of the insurance coding people, the people who have something that people need to know both what it is and how to use it in order to be successful. Now, it gets tricky when I ask people what they think they are, because people say, oh, I'm a blend of all of those. Well, if anybody knows DISC or any of the other personality profiles, of course, we want to be moving towards a place where we can blend with all of those. But ultimately, we are one primary personality style. And I think the same is true with the speaker styles. We should pick one, and the others will happen organically. So, Vanessa, thinking about a talk that you do, what do you think you might be?
I think I'm an informer.
Tell me more, why?
Because, well, I think that we all would have some level of inspiration. I don't see my, I try to put a whole lot of data into it. I'm not sure if I'm an informer or a teacher. I think it could be one or the other, and maybe you could help me with that more. But I think with most of the presentations that I do are more based around how to do something or help people. For instance, my presentation, So You Think You Want to Speak in Dentistry, takes from A to Z on becoming a speaker in dentistry. What would you call that, informer or teacher?
I think that's a teacher, because the informer is typically somebody, I think of Dr. Roy Shelburne, right? Who teaches people what the laws are so that they don't get in trouble. Or the Christine Taxons, who teaches them insurance codes and how to use them. Whereas what you're teaching is teaching, right? You're teaching people how to do things from A to Z. And that, to me, is the differentiator. Now, taking that talk about So you think you want to be a speaker. If you wanted people to buy something from you, you would probably include a lot of things about case studies about people who hired you and how well they did. If you were to do an inspirer type story, you would be talking about the very best speakers out there and all of the amazing things that the great speakers can do. If you are a teacher, you're going to get down to the nuts and bolts of here's the step, here's what you do. Here's the step, here's what you do. And so you can see just by identifying what your speaker style is, it helps you know what to include in your talk, but more importantly, what to exclude so it doesn't get muddy. Does that make sense?
It does. And let me just throw in a couple thoughts here. One is that for those who are watching, if you could put in which style you think you are, we'd love to see what you think in the comments. And I'll run them up here again. And then another thought that I had was, it seems like once I know I'm a certain style, that I might sometimes want to shift into a different gear depending upon what the presentation is. If I'm doing like a 20-minute TED Talk keynote type of thing, yes, versus a 6-hour day with the full team, systems or something like that. Would that be?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I said. It gives you the opportunity to know what to include and what to exclude. And it depends on your audience. Do we have time for me to tell a quick story?
We do. And can I ask you too, are these in the book?
Yes, they are in the book. Thank you. I worked with a speaker when I was at the dental implant company who was one of the most popular, highly sought after speakers for the local study clubs. He was a GP and he talked about what to do with complications. And he would show all of these janky slides with these horrible, broken implants or broken teeth or things just gone wrong. And he would teach them in a real world, dentist to dentist, person to person, how to fix those problems. Well, he was so in demand, he was being booked out 18 months in advance. He literally would go every week to a different city in the United States. Bless his heart. Well, our executive team saw this and they thought, wow, he must be a great speaker. We need to have him speak at our corporate forum at one of the big trade shows. So they booked him and the day came and there we were in this huge conference hall, 300 seats, dark room, podium way up there on the stage, and these gigantic slides. And it was awful. People were walking out. It was embarrassing. Now, why do you think that was?
Probably because his style, he probably spoke to this group. He should have maybe switched styles to be more inspirational or something for that type of a.
That's right. Because in those settings, the audience expect an inspirer.
Yeah.
And for him to be stuck behind a podium and not be able to interact and to be showing the worst of what happens, not the best of what happens, it was a disconnect. And
goes
so the
back
whole
to clarity.
speaker style, right? We need to know who we are and what our audience expects.
Yeah, our objective for that speech.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show the book because we don't have time to go into everything here. This is a really meaty read. It's a great read. And so I wanted to put it out here as a reminder. I think Amazon or your website, or where's the best place to get this, Margy?
It's on Amazon, but if you go to my website, there's a direct link.
Very good. I'll put your website link up here too, to be able to go deeper into that. I know that when we see you for Jumpstart in just a couple of months, I can't believe it's right around the corner, the first part of January, Margy will be doing a workshop where this is a piece of what we'll be doing. We'll talk more about that in a moment, but I wanted to throw out the offer again for anyone who's keeping an eye on our Facebook Live tonight to put in the comments, inspirer, teacher, recruiter, or informer. What do you think you are? And that full article is actually available at Margy's website, probably in your blog, as well as on our Facebook group. Yeah.
And so while you're talking about that, I want to talk about Jumpstart 19 because I know that there's an early bird special that's expiring in a few days.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have to tell you, there are people out there who need to be here. So if you're listening, it's probably because you know Vanessa, love Vanessa, and you're excited about this program, but invite your colleagues. This program is beyond amazing. Invite your colleagues, get them to come.
I am very excited about what we've put together. It's really a 3-day conference of dive deep education specifically for dental speakers. And we'll have a chance to talk about that a little bit more. Thank you for that. The September 30th is the end of the early bird special. But I would love to ask you another question.
Yes.
Were you pretty much done with the speaker styles? Can I change this to a different thought?
Yes,
I know
you can.
that recently you had put together a special type of seminar. And would you tell us about what they're called and tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, our friend, yours and my friend, Mark LeBlanc, has coached us and taught me about this program called a showcase. And a showcase is a free seminar that is designed to allow people to learn from us what we do, what our expertise is. And I actually taught 90 minutes of some of my best content. The program was called Avoid the 3 Most Common Mistakes That Speakers Make. And I had my very first program up in last month, and it was a smash hit. It was so much fun. We had people who literally flew in from other cities to come and attend this program in Seattle. It was amazing. But I also, I have to say to the audience out there, what a great resource Vanessa is in all things speaking, because you actually helped coach me too.
Oh.
You spent a lot of time helping teach me how to pull this thing off and have it be such a success, and helped me recruit for it. And so I want to thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I thank you for that. But, ultimately it does go back to, we both coach with Mark LeBlanc. I know a lot of our colleagues do. He's an amazing coach for the independent business professional. And I've put together a couple of these showcases as well. And I think the idea behind the showcase is, if you're going to be in the city anyway, you might as well see if you can pull together some people to come and hear you speak. You could do it for no charge or low charge. And I've had really good success with enrolling clients from this, which is of course the whole idea. And that's why I thought it'd be great if we shared this with our other speakers that are listening here tonight, because it's a great way to bring in new business. We all travel in the course of our business. And so I think if we sit down and look ahead of the year at our calendar, where are we going to be, and where do we already have, maybe a vendor, a dental vendor that we have a sponsorship arrangement with that might have a boardroom we could use, or like if you start thinking about how can I put this together low cost, no cost, easily, then there are ways to attract for the speakers out here who want to attract dentists to come and listen and maybe want to find out more about their consulting that way. I mean, there's different ways to market it. There's probably too much for us to go into now. We could do a whole presentation, I think, on even just how to do the showcase. But I love that you dove in and you found success with it.
I did. It was, it was a little nerve-wracking to put on a program and not know how that whole thing was going to go. But the biggest success piece for me was that I had a client in the area who is a huge advocate of mine, a huge fan. She's a great connector. And she really was so excited that she invited a whole bunch of her friends. Mm. And that's what made the whole thing just so successful for me. So I agree. If you're going to be somewhere anyhow, and if you have any contacts there and know them and can reach out and say, hey, I'd love for you to invite people who you think might enjoy what I share, it's great. It's great.
Absolutely. Well, so two big powerful tips that we've shared so far have been around the speaker styles and understanding them and how to use them, and how to be really clear about ultimately your objective. It's, so important to be clear about everything, right? As you mentioned before, like the vision, your own business vision versus each speech, just everything we're trying to do. It's helpful to think about our objective of keeping the end in mind. What do we want to accomplish? Yes. Talked about sharing the showcase opportunity and how to pull together these low cost or no cost, easy. You're just talking about things you would talk about anyways. Like you have to pull together a huge presentation and to be able to just showcase your material and share it. Are there any other tips for speakers specifically around, something to help them with developing their presentation, a presentation style? Is there anything else that you feel would be really helpful to speakers that we haven't talked about already?
Vanessa, what I have found is that the number one thing is clarity. And I'm so grateful for what I get to do. I get to work with amazing, amazing people. And one of the things that I did want to share is just, I've watched people go from nervous and overwhelmed and scared to great success. And it really does come back to that business of clarity. I think that one of the things people quote me the most often on is the statement that a confused mind always says no. And the idea is that when you as a speaker think, I need to cram everything that I know about a subject into an hour.
Guilty.
And the audience is sitting there after about 15 minutes and they've gotten 75 tips already. And they're like, I can't take any more in. And we shut down.
Yeah.
Right? Better to pick one thing. One thing and go deep instead of many things and go wide.
Yeah.
And I just want people to have the hope and the confidence and the ability to know that they have something important that people want to hear. And so I invite anybody who is hearing this and would like to have a conversation, we'll have a virtual cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And let's just see whether or not there's anything that I can suggest to help you along that path of becoming the best version of yourself.
Love that. Love that. And I've put up your email address for anyone who'd like to reach out to you. And I'm also going to show your website. So we're Margy at Laser Pointer Presentation. So let me just leave it here with a stagnant email.
Thank you.
I love that. I love that reminder. Didn't mean to cue it up, but that's where we were going anyway with the clarity. And, honestly, this also ties into the workshop you'll be doing for us at the conference. And it really is a workshop. It's really a roll up your sleeves. We're going to be working on your material. Could you give us just a brief idea of what you'll be covering in our presentation called Tame the Idea Monster? I love that.
Yes. Well, it's part of the process that I coach. And essentially, people are going to break into groups. And we're going to have some brainstorming sessions, and we're going to create all kinds of ideas. And then the magic will happen. And we're going to bring that down into clarity. And each group will have an opportunity to give a little short 2 or 3 minute presentation to have their peers see if they know where they were going with trying to be clear on something. Excellent. So it will be a roll up your sleeves, interactive, nobody gets left behind, that they can then take home and use on their own content.
Oh, I love that. And the way our conference is shaping up, we already have around 100 people that are going to be in the room, or we're looking for 150. And so we're going to have a really nice sized group. And those speakers are anywhere from 0 years, just starting, all the way to 40 years of experience. So it's not just newbies, and it's not just people who've been doing this, forever. So we're going to have a nice mixture. And so in those groups, for the person who's new, who's really looking for help, who's really wanting that help. I mean, this is one of the great resources out there, is to go to the meetings. There are multiple speaker options, for not just in our industry, but multiple industries. I mean, there's even Toastmasters, National Speakers Association. There's so many places to go get help. So if you don't come to Jumpstart, if you don't come to the Dental Speaker Institutes, be sure that you do reach out. I always encourage my clients to start with Toastmasters, because I think it's a really low-cost, easy way to get started. And then as you know a little more and have your feet wet, then dive into some more personalized coaching. And I love that you offer that coaching, that one-on-one coaching to be able to help people, take people there. Thank you, Margy. I think we pretty much covered what we needed to cover tonight. Was there anything else that we should chat about?
Come to DSI.
Yeah,
Jumpstart.
Come see us in January 3rd through 5th.
Yes.
And in the website, I'll throw up here as well, Jumpstart 2019. It's real easy to find us. The early bird special is expiring September 30th, so you can still save $300 off the $2,100. Normally, it'd be $1,800 for your registration. It's going to be a great event, and I would love to see you all there. And Phil, please do reach out to Margy with questions. I know that she has great content and is a wonderful coach and be able to help guide you along this process. And thank you, Margy, for sharing your wisdom with us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you all for tuning in. And until next Tuesday, be well, and we'll see you back here on Facebook Live.